What is up, y'all? And welcome back to episode 24 of That's No Moon Pod. I have a lot of things that I wanted to talk about in this week's episode. Right off the bat, no pun intended, the second trailer for The Flash came out today as I'm recording this. And that movie looks dope. It looks crazy. I was already sold from the trailer that was released on the Super Bowl, but this trailer got me even more hyped. The CGI looks a lot better than it did in the previous trailer, and it's almost here. And that and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which comes out this week, those two movies are at the top of my list for most anticipated of the year, for me at least. But yeah, I thought the trailer was dope. Movie looks sick. I'm stoked. But there's been a lot of crazy things going on within the UFO, UAP phenomena with cattle mutilations in Texas. That's kind of been a mainstream topic as of late, not only just on Twitter, but I've seen it being reported on Fox News and other programs on TV, which sounds crazy and is crazy, but I kind of want to talk about what I think is exactly going on there. The whole Arrow Senate committee, they released 2 videos of spherical metallic orbs flying over airspace in the Middle East. It seems like there's just an abundance of footage that our government has, but they're just choosing to slowly leak and release this type of footage at these certain meetings with U.S. senators and whatnot. But it's what they say in these meetings with these senators, and what they're not saying is that, well, these things are extraterrestrial or some form of technology. What they are saying is what we have all been saying for years now, that, look, there's a lot of reports, sightings that get investigated, and they come up with some kind of conclusion that it's a natural phenomenon or some kind of drone or balloon, right? But it's the small percentage that can't be explained. That's the main thing that we want to talk about. Those ones that we can't explain. And if you ask me, I think the footage that was released by these certain senators and representatives within Arrow, I think some of the things that was said that stood out to me, at least, was that, yeah, they're investigating, they're doing the best they can within their abilities with science and technology, and everything that goes on will be thought out and run through the process through science and the government and by these professionals who run these certain groups, and not by blogs or social media people, which pretty much is just saying that look, this is what we got. Here are these videos. You come up with your own conclusions because we don't know what these are. We're not saying that, these things haven't been flying around for years now, but look, this is what we got for y'all. And we're not going to let people on the internet, on Twitter, kind of dictate where we go with this certain topic. But let me just talk about the footage, right? Because when you see this certain spherical orb flying in broad daylight that was captured in Afghanistan, you see it flying and it's not doing any kind of erratic kind of maneuvering, but it's just kind of flying at a consistent speed, and our tracker on this drone or whatever it was able to get a lock on it and was kind of just following it for a little while. And this type of object is just kind of very common with reports. For years now, it seems like, people have been saying, not just in the military, but people around the world saying spherical, metallic objects, orbs in the sky, hovering, flying erratically and doing crazy maneuvers. It's just kind of crazy to see this kind of footage be officially released by the government and released to the public. And even though it may not be the craziest UFO footage that I've ever seen or you've ever seen, I think it still kind of helps to move the ball forward with this topic within the government. But it just sucks that this is kind of all we get from them when it comes to releasing information, and just the overall info that they release to the public is still very close to the chest. They're obviously not saying everything, and they don't want to, because, like the guy said at the committee, it doesn't matter what these bloggers or social media people have to say within the subject. The true evidence will be dealt with science and technology and these professionals within these organizations. Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp released their Weaponized podcast this week, and they go over in detail a lot more in the discussions and everything that was said and explained. They really get into detail on the whole thing, and there's a lot of intricate type of things that were said, and those guys are at the top of the game when it comes to this certain topic. So if you really want to learn about what exactly was said and released within that meeting with Arrow and the committee, definitely go check out the latest episode of Weaponized with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. They're doing great things with their podcast when it comes to this subject. Me, myself, I'm still a noob, and I don't consider myself a UFO, UAP researcher. I'm kind of just a believer and someone who's curious, but at the same time, I care about this subject, and I'm interested to see where it goes, because I think things are starting to really heat up and slowly but surely I believe that things will start to get a little bit more clear. And I think footage being released by the government or by these agencies helps, but I think we also can't forget about just regular individuals who capture footage and report sightings. I'll get into the cattle mutilations here in a second, which is crazy, like I said, but what is also crazy that happened this past week, or maybe even, I don't know exactly when this video was filmed, but there was this Colombian model or something flying in a smaller airplane in Colombia, right? In broad daylight. And the pilots report saying there was this metallic object kind of flying around, and they kind of maneuver around in the sky. And like I said, it's broad daylight. There's clouds, but still, it's a perfect day outside. And they said they were flying around, maneuvering, and they were able to kind of turn their plane to where they could cut across to where this object was flying, and the object zooms by while they're recording out the plane, and you see this metallic disc type shape object flying with its belly up in some sort, flying right past this airplane. And you can see in the footage when they're flying right towards this thing, and it flies right by their wing on the left side, and it slow-mos, and it kind of zooms in and stops to where the object passes right by them, and you could just see it's not and like a balloon or any kind of bird or weather phenomena. It looks like a classic flying saucer type deal with a dome type shaped but smooth, metallic, silver, shiny, and it's flying at this weird angle that doesn't make any sense. The object didn't look huge, but I mean, from the video, it looked like it could have been smaller than the plane that they were in, but maybe not by a whole lot. But who knows? It's hard to tell within the footage. But go see it for yourself. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think about the whole Aero U.S. committee meeting that was had. Kind of what was said within and the footage that they released with the orb in the Middle East. I think this footage that was captured by this Colombian model is way better than what was released by Aero at this U.S. Senate committee. But, I mean, like I said, it's not just the government and military that we got to take into consideration with these sightings, but it's with just regular people in the world, like this Colombian model. She was in the right place at the right time, and they got some crazy footage. And if it's legit, I think hopefully we could get some more analysis on the video and kind of get a better explanation on what it could be. But to me, I think it's legit. That video is crazy. If you haven't seen it, go watch it right now and let me know what y'all think. And these cattle mutilations in Texas, this just got released like a couple days ago. I saw it on Twitter, maybe even yesterday. I don't remember. But cattle mutilations have always been a weird kind of phenomena within the whole UFO craze, right? You go back to X-Files, way back in the day when the whole UFO thing was like first started, way back, were these cattle mutilations where cows get pretty much gutted and with their tongues cut out and their eyes popped out with no blood within their bodies, just pretty much just cleaned out on the spot with no blood anywhere, just perfectly done somehow, while these owners on these farms and who own these cattle can't explain how an animal of any kind could do what has been done to these cattle during these mutilations. And I haven't heard of any kind of reports like these in years. I remember hearing about a lot of them when I was a kid, but lately it's kind of just one of those things that you kind of put in the back of your mind. Well, there's got to be a logical explanation, right? But some of them, I think, with the evidence that is shown, some of them that I've seen, I'm like, I really don't know what's going on here and how in the world that could have been done by an animal or by anyone for that matter. And these reports in Texas kind of got the whole thing going again. The tongues were cut out, and it's like, is it just someone pulling a prank on these people, or is there something going on to where this just kind of is what happens when, say if you want to go full on crazy, right, with the side, like, just these cattle get abducted, beamed up, and then these extraterrestrials do experiments on them and cut out their tongues and do all these crazy things and drain their blood and whatnot. I mean, it sounds crazy. Do I think that's what's going on? Not necessarily, but I think there is certain things that can't be explained, and we really want there to be an explanation. But for right now, cattle mutilations is just such a crazy thing to even be happening still to this day, that after a while you kind of think, okay, maybe something crazy is going on within our world that we can't explain, but it just kind of happens because in some other reality or some type of dimension, maybe there can be contact from those people or those individuals, and they can kind of come into our world and do things that we obviously can't explain because we wouldn't be able to. So maybe, I mean, as crazy as it does sound when you say it like that, maybe that's what's going on with these cattle mutilations. Now, there could be just some more logical explanation, but I think when it comes to this certain topic with mutilations and abductions and just overall UFO and UAP topics like this, you can't throw out any conclusions because who knows? And that's what makes this subject interesting, is because no one really knows, or at least that's what they want us to think, right? I'm sure some people know some crazy stuff, but for for people like me and you, we gotta do our best to try to come up with our own conclusions. And I think this subject is never ending until we find or see the Holy Grail. But till that day comes, we still gotta continue on and keep our eyes open and look at the sky and hope for just some kind of validation for not only the people that really do good research within this topic, but for all the people that have spoken out throughout time. And I know Joe Rogan is supposed to have a podcast come out this week with James Fox. And if you know James Fox, he's a filmmaker. He's made a lot of great documentaries within the UFO phenomena. I believe he has a documentary called The Phenomenon. But he has a new documentary coming out with a certain case over in Brazil with some individual coming into contact with some being that was in a crashed object, and the person held this being and winded up getting sick from it and dying later on because of coming into contact with this being. So if you're really looking for a UFO deep dive with some crazy stories, like I said, the Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp podcast, Weaponized, but that new Joe Rogan with James Fox should be pretty fire. I'm definitely going to be tuning in once that drops. It should probably already be out by the time you're listening to this, so go over and check that out. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to talk about with the whole UFO, UAP, Aero, U.S. committee topic with the footage, and the cattle mutilations are just crazy. And, you know, sometimes the subject takes its dips within the news cycle, but it comes back in full force as quick as it dips. So be on the lookout. I'll keep y'all tuned in, and I'll have my eyes and ears to the sky, and I'll keep a lookout on Twitter and whatnot. And yeah, like I said, big things drop all the time within the subject, so it shouldn't be too much longer before we get something else. And yeah, this past week was crazy. Just news with a whole lot of crazy topics, whole lot of drama. Last week, The Mandalorian season 3 ended, but that doesn't mean that the drama's over with Star Wars, like always. I really wanted to talk about this, and I'll kind of end this video within this subject, I guess. Whole lot of Star Wars news, like always, right? But there's this crazy quote from Tamara Morrison, Boba Fett himself, and he was at some kind of conference, some kind of fan expo or something, right? And they're asking him questions, or he's answering questions. And listen to what this man has to say about what happened on Book of Boba with The Mandalorian. And y'all let me know what y'all think, because let me just read y'all this quote from Tamara Morrison. He said, "Well, that Mando guy stole a few chapters of my book. It was painful watching him turn up with some black new lethal sword, and the way he turned up in my book of Boba. He just destroyed everybody. I'm sure this guy is ruining my show, but I couldn't say anything. I'm not the writer, so I have to bear it, I guess. End quote. This guy is coming out in public and saying that someone or some people are digging their nails in behind the scenes and switching too many things up with these shows and movies still. But we know this, right? Because obviously nothing made sense when it comes to the whole thing on what happened with the Book of Boba and how we get these random episodes with the Mandalorian popping up and pretty much just showing up Boba in his own show, and you get Grogu and Mando reunited right whenever he handed him over to Luke. And just the way the Mandalorian season 3 played out, you kind of figured there was certain things changed and not for the better when it comes to these shows. Tamara Morrison has expressed his opinions before on Boba and kind of how he feels like his character wasn't done justice and they kind of treated him poorly. And this quote was just crazy because if you don't know, there was a whole lot of rumors and speculation going on that Pedro Pascal might be out as Mando because he wasn't there at all during season 3. He didn't show up to Star Wars Celebration. There was beef between him and the people behind the scenes. Jon Favreau reportedly almost left, got into it with Kathleen Kennedy. That might be why Paz Vizsla dies in Mando season 3. Sorry for the spoiler, but that might be why he dies. So I don't know if Jon Favreau's gonna come back, or I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's going on. No one knows what's going on. They don't know what's going on. So it's like, look, Mando 3 was okay. But you could tell that there were certain parts in there that they knew what they were doing with certain episodes. But then there were certain parts to where it just seemed like, okay, are they really having these sort of cutbacks and just scaling everything down? Because that's what Tamara Morrison said. That's why they had to scale back Boba from being a ruthless bounty hunter like he's always been to this guy who always takes off his helmet and talks too much and doesn't really do anything while Fennec Shand does everything. You know what I mean? So yeah, hopefully this kind of shakes things up within the people running Lucasfilm, because even though they had a good Star Wars Celebration with the whole timeline news and these new movies that were finally announced, and how the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew looks, and how awesome Ahsoka looks, and all these cool new animation shows that we're getting, Bad Batch Season 3, Vision Season 2, all this new stuff. But at the end of the day, Kathleen Kennedy and the people at Lucasfilm are just doing too much and not letting the creators cook, like always. And it's hurting the talent, and it's just hurting the IP, and it's hurting the fandom, because Star Wars has just turned into this crazy drama fest with the who's who on YouTube and on social media with all kinds of nerd culture and Star Wars channels on YouTube. The comment sections are always real toxic, but I never dive deep too much within that whole kind of thing within Star Wars. I have my own opinions, and I don't agree with a lot of people's opinions, which I'm sure a lot of people don't agree with mine, which is cool. And when I see just this kind of stuff always happening, it just kind of sucks to always have to try to find a way to maneuver between, this person says this and this person says that. But it's like, at the end of the day, right, I know what I enjoy and I know what I don't. And lately, things haven't been going so hot, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna not hope that it gets better from here on out. And that's with anything. And you can ask John Boyega, because it seems like he's coming back to Star Wars with the whole new Rey film being introduced and announced. He said he was done with Star Wars years ago, but if they have a good plan and a good story that they want to tell, I think John Boyega coming back would be sick. So they're doing a lot of cool things within certain aspects within the universe, but like I said, it's these people running the business behind the scenes that are just continuing to slow down progression with not only just the stories, but just with the talent that they can get behind the camera and on screen in front of the camera. And like I said in last episode, you gotta lock down Pedro Pascal. You gotta let him take off his helmet, whatever he wants. Pay him all the money. That's what they're doing with John Boyega. Give him all the money. Give him what he wants. Give him a cool story arc and character that can be redeemed. You can do that with Book of Boba Fett and Tamara Morrison, and there's still time to where you could do that with Mando, even though Season 3 wasn't his season at all. It was all Bo-Katan. You can still come with a Season 4 and redeem Mando Din Djarin himself if you could get Pedro Pascal back and he could take off his helmet whenever he wants. And Grogu, do whatever you want with Grogu, just please treat him right, okay? Don't hurt him. Jedi Survivor comes out this week, new video game. Follow me on Twitch, y'all, at AdmireMyMoonSalt. I'll be streaming Jedi Survivor for sure once it drops. Be doing a whole playthrough on that. Supposedly the story got leaked out. So if you're listening to this and you haven't played the game yet, watch out for spoilers online, because I'll be doing my best to be avoiding that as well. Just a whole lot of things going on lately, but I'm excited for what's to come for sure. Like I said, follow me on Twitch at AdmireMyMoonSalt. Follow me on Instagram at AdmireMyMoonSalt. I post a comic book on there damn near every day. This past week, from the new releases, my favorite release from last week for sure probably was the new Yoda run that they got going on. Started off real slow and weird, but this past issue, they got into this cool story within these Padawans, and Yoda's trying to teach these young Jedi about these visions that one's having about one turning to the dark side, and Count Dooku's having talks about Sifo Dyas, and it's just in this cool era within Star Wars with Yoda, and the next issue is supposed to deal with the Clone Wars and Yoda and General Grievous. So, like I said, if you like comic books, go follow me on IG at Admire My Moonsault. I'm sure there's a lot of things that I missed that I wanted to talk about, but like I said, now that Mando Season 3 is over, there's just going to be a lot more random type videos like this to where I kind of just talk about what I want to talk about. And yeah, thanks for whoever is listening. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all let me know what y'all thought over anything I just said. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment, share. Hopefully y'all come back for next week's episode. And yeah, y'all have a great rest of y'all's week. Y'all stay safe. And I'll catch y'all on the flip. Peace.